Today, I invite you to spend a rainy day on the homestead with me, where I will be sewing a handmade ragdoll using a free pattern that can be found on my blog. It's a rainy day on the homestead, the kind of day where the world slows down and the quiet draws you inward. The garden is resting and soaking up the steady rain, and the animals are tucked away in the barn. The rain brings puddle jumping and peace. I've heard it said that there is no bad weather, only bad clothes. And on days like today, I couldn't agree more. Once the splashing is done and the tea is poured, the day turns inward. I'm working on making a ragdoll for my child. Simple, soft, and stitched with love. I've recently added this pattern onto my blog so you can sew one too. It's a free pattern and complete tutorial, and I've left a link to it down in the description of this video. This doll is made by sewing directly onto your traced lines through 2 layers of fabric, making it easy to make and very accurate by the time you are done. I find it is my favorite way to make all sorts of soft toys, and find myself quick to use this method when pattern making. Whenever I design a new sewing pattern for a children's toy, I always think of it as play. Not just my play, but our play. Mine and the 5 precious little ones who surround me each day. They shape my ideas and are always my inspiration. Creating a new toy always starts with a spark, usually with something small like a passing comment from one of my children. They might ask, "What if there was a knight in shining armor puppet to go with the dragon puppet you made me? What if you made a doll with butterfly wings?" These aren't just requests, they're invitations. Invitations into their world. Their invitations are the blueprints. Making these toys is my way of playing with them. It's my way of telling them that they are seen and heard. I love to bring their ideas to life with them right by my side. Often when I sew a toy, they are sewing right along with me just outside of the camera's view, making it their own version of the same toy. Their efforts are always full of so much heart, and together we learn from each other. This cozy space is not just about toys, it's about connection. Listen deeply, build a beautiful world together one stitch at a time. This ragdoll is truly made from rags. She is made from the remnants of an old sheet I cut up for another sewing project. Since the sheet is all white, I decided to dye it with some natural materials I had lying around my house. Nothing flashy, nothing wasteful, just a few scraps soaked in what was already brewing in the kitchen. First, I soaked the fabric in hot water and alum. Meanwhile, I steeped some coffee in one jar and hibiscus tea in another jar. One of my favorite parts of this process is experimenting with something new. A technique, a shape, a process, a completely new way of doing things. Sometimes these experiments work, other times they turn out delightfully different, and other times it does not work out at all. But there's something beautiful even in the mistakes. There is artistry even, if not especially, in imperfections. After straining the coffee and tea, I soaked the body of the doll in the coffee and the dress for the doll in the tea overnight. The next morning, I rinsed the doll and the dress out with cold water and let them both dry thoroughly. They're nature's colors, soft and imperfect. The hues hold a story, and there's something grounding about using what we already have to make something beautiful. It gives this handmade doll even more life. Now that everything is dry, it's time for a slower kind of work, one that draws you from the inside out. I've made a little nest to sew in this afternoon. There's something deeply comforting about making toys by hand. They hold more than stuffing. They hold stories, memories, and love in every stitch. Handmade toys like these are gentle on the earth and kind to the pocketbook. Thrifty, yes, but more than that. They carry stories. They hold the past while being stitched into the future. No two dolls are ever the same, and that's the best part. The imperfections feel purposeful, and this soft and sturdy doll will be ready for a lifetime of adventures. Every time I start making a new doll, I never quite know who he or she is going to be. I might think I'm just making a little plaything, but somewhere between sewing the fabric and stuffing with wool, a personality starts to peek through each newly stitched face. As you sew, you might start to feel it. Maybe the fabric you initially chose for clothing suddenly feels too crisp, and the color yarn you thought you'd use for hair no longer seems to suit this newly budding personality. Suddenly, you're no longer choosing materials, you're listening. I like to think that each doll tells you who they want to be. The slow rhythm of hand sewing, the feel of natural fibers in your fingers, how pleasing freshly dyed fabric is to the eye. It all invites you to look closely at the little things. A crooked smile that may have been an accident now suddenly implies some mischief. Button eyes may suggest a character who is curious and kind. Even the tiniest stitch can hold the biggest personality. And when they're finished, they feel alive in the simplest way, like they were meant to be here all along, born from scraps, but full of soul. The Waldorf approach to play is something dear to my heart. It gives children simple, natural materials that invite imagination rather than dictate it. Often the toys are handmade, really encouraging complete and total imagination. Wool, cotton, and wood all carry a kind of warmth. These natural materials breathe and feel good in tiny hands. They're grounding and encourage a slower daily rhythm, encouraging creativity in every space. It's a humble result, earthy and beautiful. Colors and shapes that feel lived in, like they've always belonged in a child's arms. It's a slow, thoughtful act of love, made from the things we already had, on a rainy day we'll now always remember. When you give a handmade toy to a child, something magical happens. Now it's more than a toy. It becomes a companion, a teacher, and a comfort. Giving a handmade doll is like giving a piece of your time and your heart. And when you sit down and play, really play, something gentle and important unfolds. It's in the peekaboo, the dancing, the whispered stories. It's the way the child learns to care for something they love. Play is where children learn how to be in the world. And when we get to be there with them, guiding quietly just by showing up, a simple doll can hold all of that. Thank you for spending this quiet day with me. You can find the free ragdoll pattern and tutorial as well as notes on dyeing fabric with natural materials on my blog linked below. Until next time, may your hands stay busy, your home stay warm, and your days be stitched with love.